Answers.
All right, what's going on, everybody? A very happy Wednesday, happy hump day. Hope everyone's doing good out there. The Occupy Democrats Network. You could be watching, listening on the Washington Press Network. Of course, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, our personal YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. We've surpassed about 115,000 subscribers and going strong. Of course, my personal website also, which is pushingthelimits.live. Boy, do we have a lot to get to today. That would be an understatement. Mike Johnson lying, the House Speaker, in regards asking questions about Elon Musk and the fact that Elon Musk has called this big, beautiful bill repugnant, among other words. We are going to be getting to that, and Mike Johnson has to answer to it. He curled himself into a pretzel today. So we are going to have – I can't believe I'm actually agreeing with Steve Bannon on this one. Yes, I am. It's crazy, and even Senator Kennedy. But, you know, we're going to be covering all this today. We're going to be dissecting it. We're going to be talking about it, and it appears as though the bromance is over between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. But before we do that, guy that's been doing my show for years, I've known him for years, and I keep telling him, you've got to run as a Democrat. You've got to get away from the Republican Party. He has been anti-Donald Trump more than anybody has, outspoken. As a former Tea Party GOP congressman and a former presidential candidate, Joe Walsh, who announced yesterday that he is going to be officially labeling himself within the Democrat Party as a Democrat. And I'm glad he did that, actually, but we're going to talk about it. Joe Walsh joining us right now on the show. Joe, it's good to have you on, my friend. How are you?
Brian, from the Tea Party to the Democratic Party in 14 years. What a story.
I asked you about this. This made national news. I asked you about this probably for the last year or two, and you were skeptical. What made you change your mind yesterday?
I don't want to stop fighting politically. And if you want to stay in the political fight and you believe my former party is a real threat to our democracy, then I just feel obligated to suit up with the other party, the Democratic Party, which Brian, you and I know they've got flaws, they've got faults, they've got warts, but the Democratic Party embraces freedom, tolerance, the rule of law, democracy, decency, all of that. So it just made perfect sense.
So, Joe, listen, I welcome you. I'm not a Democrat, but I think you made the right decision. But you know there's naysayers out there. You are pro-life. You disagree with Democrats on a number of gun control issues. We've talked about that. These are very key issues for Democrats. So what do you say to some Democrats out there, the naysayers, that say, oh, well, I don't agree with Joe Walsh on a number of different issues, and I think he's doing this for political convenience if he runs for office? What do you say to them?
Well, two things, Brian. I've never been very good at doing things for political convenience. If that were my MO, I'd still be a huge Trumper making a crapload of money. No, this is genuine, and this is, look, we have the very thing our founders feared in the White House. One of our two parties is utterly opposed to democracy and the rule of law. This is an unprecedented time. I think everybody would agree with that. So that means we do unprecedented things. And I think one of the unprecedented things we do is, and if the Democrats want to win, then they got to do this, get together a big, big tent. Because it's going to take a big, big tent to win. Democrats have had problems winning of late, especially nationally. Well, it's going to take a big tent. And yeah, there are going to be plenty of issues where, again, progressives in the party disagree with me. But is there room in the Democratic Party for a conservative Democrat? Gosh, I hope so, Bri. I mean, look at all 50 states are different. I come from Illinois. Dick Durbin, my senator, announced he's retiring. I got a bunch of people who said, oh, Joe, move back to your home state and run to replace Durbin. Well, Illinois is a very blue liberal state. I couldn't win statewide in Illinois. Mm-hmm. Every state is different. And Democrats need to field candidates who are progressive, moderate, and conservative if they want to win.
So I'm on your side here, but I'm playing the other side for a moment here. What would you say?
Glad you are.
What would you say to somebody who say Joe Walsh will be the Joe Manchin of the Democrat Party? What do you say to that?
I actually, Brian, that's actually a great one. First of all, I don't know who or what Joe Manchin is. I don't know what he stands for or believes. Joe Manchin's a politician. Joe Manchin's a career politician. Brian, you know me. I'm a fighter who's got beliefs, and I get passionate about my beliefs. I'm not a career politician. I'm a conservative. I don't know what Manchin is, but I want to be part of the Democratic team. I want to help the Democratic Party win. And look, I want fighters, and I want people like AOC and Bernie on the left, but it's going to take fighters across the board. Manchin wasn't a fighter. Manchin's just a career pal who left the Democratic Party. I'm not going to leave the Democratic Party. This is my last move. This is totally my last political play. I'm here to defend our democracy and the rule of law and defeat the Republican Party.
Do you have any plans of running for office as a Democrat, either for a congressman, a senator, or possibly even the presidential election in 2028? Do you have any aspirations of doing that, running as a Democrat?
Heck yes. You'll get no BS from me, my friend. I'd love to be able to run. Is that part of why I did this? Maybe, sure, because it's easier to run in one of the parties. I'm much more at home now as a Democrat because, again, everything's flipped. And by the way, Bri, I know we talk about how different I may be with some Democrats on certain issues, but I don't think the differences are as great as people think on a number of issues. And you and I have talked over the years. You've appropriately raked me over the coals on a number of issues, and I've opened my eyes and learned about issues like our LGBTQ issues and climate change.
Right.
So it's not like I'm way out there, in the boonies somewhere.
No, I don't think that. Listen, I said this yesterday, but there was a lot of people that called into this show yesterday that had a problem with you, and I was defending you. Here's why. I vote based on, do I think you're a good person? Joe, I know you're a good guy. You're a good husband. You're a good family man. I know you're a decent person, and you care about our democracy. To me, that's more important than anything else. Do I agree with you? Do I disagree with you on the abortion issue? Yes. Do I disagree with you on gun control issues? Yes. But I would still rather have you run as a Democrat with a strong voice, because I know that you're a fighter, and I think the Democrat Party, they need more fighters. That's why I defend you here.
And thanks, Bri. And I completely agree. But look, I think the Democrats, Bri, what's interesting is, and maybe someone like me will help force the issue, the Democrats, this is a gut check moment. They lost to an utterly horrible human being. How did that happen, Democrats? Yeah. Hello? Come on, us. And I got to say, we Democrats, this is a gut check moment for us. And I get it. If the party doesn't want to welcome in moderates and even some, there used to be Democrat conservatives when I was a kid, then that's fine. That's the party's choice. My argument is, do you want to win or not? And do you want to save this democracy or not? This is a weird time. Let's put down our policy differences for as long as it takes. But, Brian, to answer your question, I'd love to run again. I'd love to run again.
What's your top priority? Would it be for president, or would it be for something else?
I don't know. I know this. My bride and I are moving down to the state of South Carolina. We found a beautiful town down there 6 years ago that we fell in love with, Aiken, South Carolina. So that's going to be my home base. And I want to help Democrats all over the country. I don't know what I could or would run for. And by the way, Brian, who am I? I'm a new Democrat. And so I gotta speak with Democratic voters wherever I am.
Have you had any prominent names in the last several days? I would imagine you have, either Democrats or Republicans that you've had conversations with that you could share with us.
I can't share names. Generally, the reaction I've gotten from the vast majority of Democrats, just voters and or elected officials, has been welcome. God bless. This is great. Republicans have ripped the hell out of me, but I expected that. Yeah.
If you're just joining us, he's Joe Walsh, former Tea Party GOP congressman, who is now officially a new Democrat, as he says. So, Joe, I have to ask you, the course of the last day or two, it's been very hectic for you, and you made national news, but what do you make of Elon Musk now blasting this big, beautiful bill? And it seems like the honeymoon and the bromance between Donald Trump and Elon Musk is officially over. I just have to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, right. It's like my headline today is Joe Walsh is a Democrat and the Republicans are still a cowardly, chaotic mess. I love seeing them fight with each other over this big, bad bill. I think it's personal with Elon. I don't think Elon necessarily gives a damn about the debt. If he cared about the debt, he wouldn't have done what he did with Doge, which was never an effort to do anything about the debt. So crocodile tears for Elon Musk. I think it's more personal. I don't think Elon likes the way that he's been gently pushed out. But it's going to be fun to watch because Donald Trump is their cult leader and Elon is their benefactor. And watching the pained look on the faces of these Republicans has been just utterly glorious.
Did you see Kenny today in the questioning of Lutnick and talk?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, the word is reciprocity, Joe. And obviously, you know, and I know that when you implement any type of tariff, you're trying to get reciprocity to help the American people. And Lutnick didn't even seem to understand that. I mean, you have Kennedy, who's a staunch Trump supporter, who embarrassed Lutnick. I don't think it was intentional. I'm wondering what you made of that exchange earlier today.
It's a reminder that I don't think any of them really know what they're doing with this tariff issue. They're all clearly not on the same page. Donald Trump has loved tariffs going back 100 years. And Lutnick has been partial toward tariffs no matter what. These two, I think, really like tariffs just as permanent policy. But the smart people around Trump, and there are a few, they don't like tariffs, or if you're going to use tariffs, it's pure reciprocity.
Yeah. Last question.
So it's a battle.
Last question, Joe. So Donald Trump on Truth Social responding to the Ukraine attack to Vladimir Putin saying he has to respond. That's pretty much condoning, ending the lives of innocent people in Ukraine. That's really what Donald Trump did. And by the way, Ukraine went out of their way to not end the lives of innocent people, and they executed it to perfection. Trump is now giving Putin, it seems like, the green light. Not that Putin needs the green light from Donald Trump. What do you make of that? Donald Trump basically saying, yep, Putin has to respond. What do you make of that?
It's not news. Donald Trump works for Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump is a Russian asset. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, here's the most recent bit of evidence. The president of the United States is on Putin's side completely. And it's been that way from the beginning. As I've said from the beginning, that should scare the hell out of the entire free world. And the last thing I'll say, Brian, is I'm a Democrat because I want Democrats to fight. I'm so disappointed that Democrats have not been as righteously angry as most of their voters are. And we need Democratic elected officials to fight and be pissed off about what this guy in this party, my former party, is doing to this country.
Okay, one more quick question. I lied. One more quick. There's a lot of my listeners, Joe. Now, I got your back on this one. I think you made the right decision. I would vote for you in a heartbeat because I know you, and I think you're a good man.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of my listeners, and there are a lot of Democrats out there. I said this to start this interview, that they might not trust you. They don't like your voting record. They don't know you personally like I do. I want you to speak to them right now. What would you say to those people who right now, they don't seem like they want to give you a chance and they don't want to accept you in the party? Speak to them right now, not me. Speak to them.
7 years ago, I was on top of the effing world. I was making money for the first time in my life. I was going to be the next syndicated radio star. I could have gotten elected as a Republican senator or congressman again in a heartbeat. I took a blowtorch to my career 7 years ago by publicly turning against Donald Trump. I ended my livelihood. I ended my career. I ended my future of ever getting elected again as a Republican. I put up with daily death threats for 7 years. Everything I do because I think it's the right thing to do. My God, on paper, me becoming a Democrat in many ways will be a career killer. I'm doing it. And even if nothing happens to me, Brian, I become a Democrat and I help open the door for more moderates and conservatives to become Democrats, and nothing good happens to me, I will have won, because my only motivation is my former party has to lose for our democracy to be saved. And right now, we should all be Democrats to do that.
Very well said, Joe. I got your back. I applaud you. I applaud your decision and look forward to talking to you again down the road. And I always appreciate it when you take the time to come on the show, Joe. Thank you so much. And I think what you've done is brave. And I hope the Democrats welcome you in. I think they will.
Thanks, my friend. Talk soon.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. That's Joe Walsh, everybody. Again, former Tea Party GOP congressman. He's been doing this show for years. I know Joe really well. We've had plenty of private conversations. I don't believe Joe Walsh did this for himself. I really don't. I think he did it for the country. I don't always agree with Joe on policy stuff, but I really think for the people out there that are questioning Joe, who made national news yesterday for doing this, give the man a chance. That's all I'm asking. We can criticize Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh is a guy who admits that he made mistakes when Donald Trump first put his name in the ring to be president. But there is nobody that has been more open and honest about Donald Trump as a Republican than Joe Walsh has for the last 6 or 7 years. That's why I trust Joe Walsh. So I'm asking the naysayers out there just to think about it. I like Joe. I can tell you from personal experience, he's a good man. He's a good, decent man. He's a family man, and he cares about our democracy. He cares about our country. And, you know, obviously it would depend on who Joe Walsh is running against, but I can tell you right now, I would vote for Joe Walsh over almost any other Republican out there right now because I trust him. I really do. So I would ask all of you just to think about that. And I respect Joe Walsh a lot. So this might be a shock to some of you. It's not a shock to me because I told you the bromance between Elon Musk and Donald Trump would probably only last 6 months. Well, the under came in. It hasn't been 6 months. And the reason why Elon Musk is blasting this big, beautiful bill, because it affects Tesla. It affects his companies. It affects his bottom line. Because Elon Musk doesn't care about the deficit. Elon Musk doesn't care about wasteful spending. Elon Musk, like Donald Trump, only cares about himself. Himself meaning his companies. His bottom line. So, Mike Johnson was asked about this today. And Mike Johnson was asked about his conversations with Donald Trump over the last 24 hours about this. I want you to listen to what Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, had to say about it.
Calls him back today. I talked to President Trump, all the time, multiple times a day. Obviously, we've talked about this. As you know, he's not delighted that Elon did a 180 on that. But look, I don't know what happened in 24 hours. Everybody can draw their own conclusions about that. Okay, but I look forward to talking to my friend about it again, and I'm not upset about it. All right? Yeah, Olivia calls him back today.
Well, it certainly sounds like there are a lot of people that are upset about it, and Donald Trump certainly is one of those people. Now, Mike Johnson has reached out, apparently, to Elon Musk to talk about this sort of stuff. Listen to what Mike Johnson had to say when he attempted to reach out to Elon yesterday.
Well, I'll tell you, I called Elon last night and he didn't answer, but I hope to talk to him today. I mean, it's not, it's very friendly, and we've laughed about our differences on policy before.
Well, I mean, there you go. Mike Johnson claiming that he tried to reach out to Elon Musk. Didn't seem to work out very good. And then this is really interesting because a reporter asks Mike Johnson about EV mandates because, as we know, this goes against Elon Musk and his business with these EV mandates. It's not good for Elon. It's not good for his business. So here's Mike Johnson being caught on a lie. Now, I'll explain after I play this audio cut, but this is Mike Johnson claiming that Manu Raju is the guy from CNN that brought this stuff up. Listen to Mike Johnson, then we'll explain the fact that he is literally lying to the American people.
Manu brought up EV mandates, not me, okay? and I said that everybody can draw their own conclusions about that. Look, I don't subscribe motive to anybody. I try not to do that. It's a good way to live. I just believe that we got to do the right thing by way of policy, and I hope everybody understands. They might not think the bill is perfect in some respect. I mean, a bill that's 1,100 pages long and covers every area of policy and the budget that ours does. Very few people are going to say that's a perfect piece of legislation. But I hope everybody will evaluate that in both parties.
Okay, so first of all, Mike Johnson is lying. I know that might shock some of you. Manu, he's talking about Manu Raju, a great reporter from CNN, saying that Manu Raju is the guy that brought up EV mandates, which obviously hurt Elon Musk, which is part of the reason why Musk is so against this big, beautiful bill. But again, Mike Johnson's lying. All these guys do are lie, and here's the audio to prove it. This is literally 15 minutes earlier before he took the podium where Manu Raju is interviewing him, and it was actually Mike Johnson who was the one who brought up EVs. Listen to this.
Elon is missing it, okay? And it's not personal. I know that the EV mandate, very important to him, that is going away because the government should not be subsidizing these things.
He just brought up EV mandates. Manu Raju didn't bring it up. You could look at the entire 3 or 4 minute conversation as he's walking to the podium where Manu Raju and other reporters are asking. So again, listen, I'm just playing this just to prove a point. Mike Johnson lying out of his ass. I mean, that's what this guy does. Elon Musk is obviously not happy. He and Donald Trump have gotten into it. We saw that weird press conference in the Oval Office where Donald Trump gives him this key trophy, and he has that weird marking on his eye. We heard rumblings, allegedly, that there was some sort of physical altercation between Elon Musk and a member of Donald Trump's staff. I don't know if he got that bruise on his eye from that, but I am not buying the explanation where Elon Musk says he told his kid to punch him in the face. I'm not buying that at all. So this is over. The bromance is done. And Elon Musk is continuing to tweet out stuff today about this alleged big, beautiful bill that Elon is obviously against. I cannot believe I'm going to be saying this on this show because this would be a first, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm actually agreeing with Steve Bannon. Now, I think Steve Bannon is a felon and a horrible human being, but he is right when it comes to this big, beautiful bill. When you have people like Steve Bannon who are against what you're doing and you're a Republican, something is very wrong. Here is Steve Bannon saying that something that I have been saying and what liberals have been saying and what Democrats have been saying for years, which is you need to start taxing the rich more in order to get some money back and control the deficit and the debt that we are in. That's exactly what Steve Bannon is saying. It's exactly what Kamala Harris said and Hillary Clinton said, and basically every Democrat in office right now. Every Democrat has said you have to tax the rich more in order to control the deficit and the wasteful spending. But yet it's Republicans like Donald Trump that continue to give the biggest tax breaks for the top 1%. Why is it that you have to hear from Steve Bannon to get it through your MAGA wax ears? Have a listen to what Steve Bannon had to say.
Want to stop the dead bomb, Elon? And the guys on Capitol Hill, you're going to have to raise taxes. The wealthy can't get an extension of the tax cut. That's got to go to the middle class and the working class. That has to be extended and it has to be made permanent. At 40%, the top bracket are 40%, you pick them. That's got to go to 39, go back to 30, snap back to 39.5% and go to 40%. The math simply doesn't work.
That's what I've been saying for decades. That's what Democrats have been saying for decades. That's what liberals have been saying for decades. It's what Kamala Harris said. It's what Barack Obama said. It's what Joe Biden has been saying. We need to stop giving tax breaks for the rich. And now, all of a sudden, in 2025, Steve Bannon is finally starting to echo what we've been saying all along. Stop giving the biggest tax breaks to the top 1%. It's how we take care of the deficit. It's how we get out of debt. You got to give the tax breaks to the middle class and those that are struggling, living, working paycheck to paycheck. Up the taxes to the top 1%. Steve Bannon, you couldn't get more MAGA right than him. Steve Bannon is finally starting to catch on. When are the MAGA Republicans going to start catching on? When is the Republican Party going to start catching on? Stop giving the biggest tax breaks to CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. Stop it. And if you give some tax breaks, which is, by the way, what Kamala Harris wanted to do, I believe she wanted to drop it down to 26% for household incomes of under $400,000 a year, that would have saved the economy because those people would have a little bit more money in their pocket. They could go to the movies, which is not cheap these days. Maybe they would spend a little bit more money going out to restaurants. Tax the top 1%. Stop. It is ridiculous to live in a country where somebody who is making $40,000 a year pays the same percentage or maybe even higher percentage than a billionaire. That is what I have been saying forever. But MAGA Republicans, conservatives, don't seem to understand that. Steve Bannon finally does. Took him long enough. That is the opposite of Donald Trump's tax policy, the biggest tax breaks for the top 1% that we've had in decades. You are not going to solve the deficit that we are in right now and put together an alleged big, beautiful bill that'll put us trillions of dollars more in debt, according to basically every study out there by nonpartisan entities. This is not going to erase the deficit. It's going to make it worse. According to just about everybody, unless you're Mike Johnson, Donald Trump, or Caroline the Liar Levitt. Why is it that it's so hard still for people to understand this? You voted for this guy. Even Steve Bannon is out against this big, beautiful bill. Elon Musk certainly is. He said, that's it. I'm done with Doge. I'm out of here. He's calling it an abomination. If you're a religious person, look up the word abomination and where that word came up from. That's Elon Musk. He chose that word, an abomination. But of course, he doesn't put out the word Donald Trump, but he says he's going to out all these Republicans who voted for the bill. And then you have Marjorie Taylor Greene, who didn't even read the bill and voted for it, self-admittingly said, oh, I didn't know this was in the bill. I didn't read this. Marjorie Taylor Greene, like so many other these MAGA far-right idiots, vote for bills and they don't read it so long as Donald Trump tells them to vote for it. That is how ignorant Marjorie Taylor Greene is, and she openly admitted that on social media. That's right. So speaking of stupidity, for a moment, let's talk about tariffs. So Senator Kennedy, no relation to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., both as I would like to call imbeciles, but Senator Kennedy was questioning Mr. Lutnick over Donald Trump's absurd trade policy. Now, it wasn't Kennedy's objective to make Lutnick look really bad, but that did happen this morning. Because anybody with a half a brain that has an IQ over 20 understands that when you tariff a country, you expect reciprocity in return for the American consumer. Because after all, when you tariff other countries, you're trying to make it better for your own country, the people in your country that are struggling. Consumers, American consumers. Now, the opposite has happened. But that's why you tariff other countries. That's really the main reason and the only reason why you do that, because you want reciprocity in return. This is an unbelievable piece of audio from earlier this morning. It is mesmerizing because you have a staunch MAGA Republican who actually made Lutnick look completely and utterly ridiculous when it comes to reciprocity. This line of questioning was perfect, and it just goes to show you the absurdity of Donald Trump's trade policy. Have a listen to this exchange.
If Vietnam, for example, came to you tomorrow and said, okay, Mr. Secretary, you win. We're going to remove all tariffs and all trade barriers. Would the United States please do the same? Would you accept that deal?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. That would be the silliest thing we could do.
Why is that?
Vietnam has a $125 billion exports to us and imports from us $12.5 million. And you're thinking, Vietnam exports $125 billion?
I'm aware of the figures, but tell me.
But where do they get it from? They buy $90 billion from China, then they mark it up and send it to us.
So you
They're
wouldn't-
just a
you wouldn't-
pathway of China to us.
You wouldn't accept that deal.
No, it's a terrible deal. We're the one with money. We're the one with the
then
store. Of
what's
course
the
they want us
purpose?
to take
What's
down.
the purpose of reciprocity then? Is reciprocity not one of your goals? Are you telling the president that we shouldn't seek reciprocity? If that's what you're telling him, why are you trying to do these trade deals?
What do we want? We want to encourage Vietnam to produce products they're great at
But I want to
producing.
get back to reciprocity. You just said you don't believe in you don't accept reciprocity as a goal. What are you negotiating in these trade deals?
But why would we
then?
open our bank account and
What-
their bank account when
Why are
ours is
you
10 times bigger?
negotiating trade deals? You're trying to get other countries to lower their tariffs and trade barriers in return for us lowering ours. I think
That's true for the
that's-
things that they'll take from us.
That's called reciprocity.
Of course.
So are you or are you not seeking reciprocity in these trade deals?
We are absolutely seeking reciprocity with respect to things that can be reciprocal.
But you just said
But when they're
that
importing
if a
from
country-
China and sending
You
it to us,
just
they're
said that
not.
if a country came to you and offered you the ultimate reciprocity, no tariffs, no trade barriers, in return for us doing the same, you would reject that.
Of course, because they buy from China and send it to us. Don't you agree with
Suppose
me?
they said we won't buy from China.
Now we're talking. Now we're
Would you-
talking.
would
If
you
it was
ex-
Vietnam,
Would you accept that deal?
we would consider it. For what things? For
What would you want to
products?
change?
Well, there are certain products we want to reshore. We don't want other people making them. We want to make pharmaceuticals here.
What a complete imbecile. So wait, you're telling me that if another country, in this case Vietnam, said they were going to end tariffs and they won't buy any products from China, you still wouldn't agree to that? Kennedy's right. Then what's the point of what you're doing? It's all about reciprocity, but it doesn't sound like Lutnick has any idea what he's talking about, just like just about anybody else in the Trump administration. Their absurdity when it comes to Donald Trump's trade policy is ridiculous. That's the whole reason why you do this to begin with. Ask any president that implemented any type of tariffs at all. They'd say, well, we're doing this for reciprocity. Yet the first thing that comes out of Lutnick's mouth is, no, we don't want reciprocity. No, because they're buying stuff from China. And then Kennedy asked, well, wait a second. What if Vietnam ended all of their tariffs on American consumers? And even they owned up to the fact that they won't buy anything from China. Well, maybe that's something that we would consider. This is how ridiculous this administration is. They have no idea what they're doing. They're doing it because Donald Trump likes the word tariff and for ego. They don't understand the damage they're doing to the country. They don't understand it's the American consumer that has to pay for this. And they don't understand that the whole reason why you implement tariffs is to help the American people for, wait for it, reciprocity, a word that Lutnick sounded like he didn't even want to use or maybe even didn't understand. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. It's how unserious this administration is, and it's why we're in for it for the next 3.5 years, and it's going to take decades to recover from this nonsense. Decades. And I can't believe I'm agreeing with Steve Bannon, and I'm agreeing with Senator Kennedy on the same day. Mark that one down, ladies and gentlemen. So to talk to us a little bit about this, and we will open up the phone lines, by the way, as well, at 702-221-7283, 702-221-7283. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we're going to be covering all of this on the program right now. But he is a guy that has been in law enforcement for decades. He co-hosts with me every Wednesday, and I always appreciate it when Leonard Cardinale joins me in that hot seat. Not really a hot seat when Leonard is here. Leonard, it's good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Oh, I don't mind the hot seat at all. In fact, I enjoy it. But you are on fire today.
Oh, I appreciate that.
You're the one who's fired up.
It's because I had lunch earlier today. Usually I don't eat before the show, but my blood sugar levels are really good today.
Well, then you're ready to go.
My brain is ready, yes. So, Leonard, before we take phone calls at 702-221-7283, let's start with Joe Walsh, because there's a lot we've dissected here in the first 30 minutes. So Joe Walsh is a personal friend of mine. He ran for president, of course, as a Republican. He was a Republican congressman out of Chicago. He made national news yesterday because he said he's switching to the Democrat Party. Now, I'm all for it. I know Joe personally. I don't always agree with him on policy, but I know in my eyes anyway and in my heart, he's a decent man, he's a good man, and he's a fighter. What is your reaction to that? Because there are some Democrats that are not welcoming him into the party, and I think they're making a mistake. What do you say?
I think he's trying to go for the Democratic conservative vote, which, you know, in my opinion, there's not enough of. But the issue with, even in the interview, and you were very polite, and you admitted your friends and you support him, but there wasn't a whole lot of policy, right? So, you know, he says, I'm a conservative. His words, not mine.
He is.
And so when you say that you have a bill that even the government is saying is going to raise the debt ceiling by $2.4 trillion, and remember that came from
Joe was against the bill, by the way.
That came from the CBO, but I was surprised that he didn't articulate some more conservative values, some more conservative policies.
Well, Joe agrees with Democrats for the most part on social issues. When it comes to gun control, when it comes to abortion, he does not side with Democrats.
What's his position on abortion?
He believes in pro-life. If there are extenuating circumstances with the mother, incest, or an assault, he believes the woman should have the right to choose there. But he believes that abortion should be illegal.
Does he have some time constraints? Is he at the 16-week? Is he at the 30-week? Do we know?
I'll have to ask him about that.
Yeah, because that's kind of important, because that shows your mindset. It shows whether or not you believe that there should be no abortions from the original embryo becoming, what we would call a spark of life. And so I'm not trusting. And then he's talking about South Carolina, and he kind of pitched it, but he didn't. He said, me and my wife saw some property, and we might want to move to South Carolina. So if he's going to make a run there, conservative Democrat's going to be it's going to be a big bite.
I think it certainly will be an uphill battle for Joe, but I think he made the right decision, and we'll have to wait and see how it goes. Also wanted to ask you about Mike Johnson today, the whole Elon Musk situation. where Elon Musk is calling this big, beautiful bill, quote, an abomination. So what are your thoughts on Elon Musk now? It appears as though the bromance is officially over. What are your thoughts on that?
What I see is that, I'm sorry to say this, but I believe Elon Musk got conned and didn't see it coming. That's what I think happened. They made a deal. He said, I'll put you in charge of Doge. And Elon came out with a chainsaw, and he was jumping up and down, and he's doing the Heil Hitler salute, supposedly, and thought he was going to have an effect and bring the actual budget down. Now he's into Elon trusts austerity, which is just cutting from the bottom line, and then, oh well, people lost their jobs by the thousands or hundreds of thousands, and the veterans, and the health care, and the SNAP program, and Medicaid. But I think Elon may have had part of his heart in actually trying to cut the deficit.
Yeah.
And then what he found was when the big, beautiful bill came out, they're just adding to the credit card. So we're at 36.5 billion. I'm sorry, 36.5 trillion is our national debt, and the Trump administration is proposing that we raise it to over 40 trillion. Remember, the CBO did the 2.4 trillion, so very conservative. Those people are appointed by Donald Trump, so I would say that's an underestimate, and it's been as high as 4 or 5 trillion. So now we're in the 40 trillions, and I think Elon turned around and called it an abomination, a disgusting abomination. He also implied that Trump undermined him because he really believed he was there to help, money-wise, not with people, not in social programs. And he realized that he'd been conned, because not only does it undermine everything that Elon's been working on, supposedly he saved 1.1 trillion, but no, he's not even close to that. I think that just the job cuts alone came out to about 9 billion, and that's just cutting people off the bottom. So I think he feels like he's been conned, like so many people, and he's upset. He gave up. He lost half his company in Europe, down 49%. People have not been buying Teslas. They don't like his reputation. He's one of the lowest ratings of likability that he's ever had, and it cost him everything. Did it not cost him everything? And now you're going to turn around, and all the work he did and all the damage he did to his reputation and his companies was for nothing, and I think he's pissed.
I certainly agree. So we're covering a lot of topics right now. We had Joe Walsh on the show. He just announced that he will be a Democrat, a registered Democrat, and he didn't rule out the possibility of running for president as a Democrat in 2028, running for any other form of office as well. I certainly support him. There are some out there that do not. Donald Trump also said in a Truth Social tweet earlier today that Putin will have to respond when it comes to the Ukraine strikes on airfields, which I think is absolutely disgusting and ridiculous. And, of course, we are also covering Mike Johnson's statements today about Elon Musk calling this big, beautiful bill, as they like to call it, reprehensible, among other words. So we're covering that as well. So we do want to take your phone calls. Listen, if you're a MAGA supporter, please, by all means, call in. What do you make of Elon Musk and the bromance, it appears as though, being over with Donald Trump? What do you make of this big, beautiful bill? If you're a MAGA supporter, do you support it? What do you make of Elon Musk's comments? What do you make of Joe Walsh, a former Republican presidential candidate and congressman that is now switching over and now becoming a Democrat? What do you make of that? But, just as important, if not more important, you have Lutnick today, who doesn't seem to even understand what the word reciprocity is. So the phone lines are open right now. If you're on social media, YouTube, TikTok, wherever you're watching the Occupy Democrats Network, you have to literally call into this show. This isn't one of those X shows or, a TikTok show where the guest, just sends a request to come on. You have to call in because this is a live radio show. So if you're a Trump supporter or not, here's your chance to do so.
Can I add
the number
one thing?
to call? Yep, the number to call 702-221-7283. And again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the program, it's 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283.
If anybody wants to talk about Senator Mike Rounds, a conservative Republican, he destroyed that bill today. He was interviewed on CNN, and he said it would raise the average family, it would cost $2,400 more a year in taxes under this program, and he's not supporting it at all. And he's generally someone who supports the MAGA movement, which I thought was interesting.
That is interesting.
Senator Mike Rounds.
Yep. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. All right, we're going to start off with Mark. Mark is first up on PTL. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Hey, good.
Leonard, good to see you again.
Oh, thank you. What's on your mind?
Two things. The first thing is Joe Walsh. We don't need another Democrat on the wrong side of gun control. We don't need a Democrat on the wrong side of birth control. And I could see him voting with the Republicans on certain items. So I'm not in favor of Joe Walsh. There's going to be a lot of other better people like maybe Josh Shapiro, hopefully. Joe Walsh, I hope he gets annihilated in the if they have a primary this time. The other thing I want to mention is, did you guys see Chuck Schumer yesterday in front of the cameras talking about how he agrees with Elon Musk?
Yes, I did. I did see that. Yes, I did.
I mean, how disgraceful. I've been saying from the get-go, you don't agree with anything that these idiots, such as Elon Musk and Trump.
Okay, but hold on.
This is the second time.
So, Mark, I get,
time.
Mark, I get what you're saying, but I just agreed with Steve Bannon today because Steve Bannon is the guy who said, once in a while he might get it right. He said that basically the rich need to be taxed more in order to get us out of the deficit. I think it's okay to agree with somebody, even though you might disagree with somebody 99% of the time.
All right. I'd like to comment on that. Yes, we all agree that we tax the rich and not the middle class and the poor. We all agree. But we don't agree with Elon Musk because the only reason Elon Musk is angry about is because he didn't get the tax breaks he wanted on the electric vehicles and he didn't get that big contract he wanted with Starlink.
Yeah, but
That's
Mark,
the
you
only
have to
reason
agree
why
with him
Musk
on the
is
issue.
angry.
The issue is that the big beautiful bill is an abomination. It's a disgusting abomination,
It's an
is what he said.
abomination because
And so, let me finish, because if you never agree with anything on the other side, even when it's correct, even when it supports your position, even when it tears down a bill that's going to hurt the middle class and the lower, you have, like Brian said, you have to admit that he's correct in saying that he was undermined and he's upset. Contracts notwithstanding, his board was ready to get rid of him as a CEO. They basically told him, you come back and run your business and be a CEO or else. So he really doesn't have any choice. But if he says something that's 100% true, which is that the bill is a ridiculous interpretation of an economic policy, I'm sorry to disagree with you, but I have to agree with that.
Well, yes, economic policy because of his views on the tax breaks, not because of what's included in the bill. The other thing I would like to also mention is that with Chuck Schumer, why can't he come on TV and just start talking nonsense like the Republicans do, such as, oh, behind closed doors, the Republicans hate this bill, but they're afraid of Donald Trump. I mean, if you're going to lie like the Republicans,
He has
then
no
lie
leadership
and
qualities,
lie.
Mark. Schumer has no leadership qualities, and he never has. It's just
Exactly.
politics.
Somebody on thank you, Mark, for the call. Somebody on social media said something very interesting, which is you should never agree with racist, hateful people. I would assume she'd be talking about either Elon Musk and or Steve Bannon. So here's my response to that. Just because you're a racist, evil person doesn't mean that everything that person says I'm going to disagree with. I understand the point. But at the same time, when you say something that is true, Steve Bannon said something that is true, that the top 1% need to be taxed more. I'm not going to disagree with that just because Steve Bannon is a horrific human being. I agree with you. Steve Bannon's a terrible person. Elon Musk, terrible human being. But it doesn't mean I'm always going to disagree with them. So I would respectfully disagree with you. I don't think just because someone's an evil, horrible person, or in this case, maybe even a racist, that means that we have to disagree with them on anything because of that premise. We can call them horrible people, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're wrong on this issue, and they're not. Steve Bannon is correct, and Elon Musk is correct. Now, I understand they might have different reasons why they feel the way they feel, but they're still correct. This is not a big, beautiful bill. It's wasteful spending. It's going to hurt the American people. It's going to take health care away from millions of people. So it doesn't mean we have to congratulate Steve Bannon and Elon Musk, but they are right on this issue. For the reasons that, that's another story, but they're right.
Yeah, but hating them and not even listening to reason when it's good policy,
right?
Doesn't that make you kind of like a MAGA? Because no matter what you throw at them, no matter how much sense it makes, they just hate the other side.
Right. And listen, the reason why it's important for me to bring it up is because this is a guy who donated $400 million to Donald Trump's presidency in Elon Musk. Now he's ran away. Now, I told you this wouldn't last probably more than 6 months. I was right about that. I think Marco Rubio is the next one to go, by the way. But I was actually surprised to hear Steve Bannon even speaking against this. I mean, you want to talk about a right-wing talking head for MAGA Republicans, and even he is saying you have to tax the rich more. I've been saying that for years, and most Democrats have been saying that for years as well. Number to call, 702-221-7283. MAGA supporter or not, you're welcome to call in, and let's get into it. Again, 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. Let's go to Alan. Alan is next up on PTL. What's up, Alan?
Hey, Brian, I just listen to your show on YouTube. I'm a subscriber. I just want to tell you, you do a wonderful job of getting your point across.
Well, thank you.
I am an independent, just like you are.
Mm-hmm.
I live in Ohio, which used to be a purple state. Now it's a red state. And I have to listen to it all the time. It always seems like it's 1 against 20, okay? I go to West Virginia, hang out with my buddies. It gets ugly down there, but I laugh about it because I kind of know what's going on, and they don't, you know?
Yeah.
And some of these people that are some of the smartest people I know, just we got different views on things, you know?
Right.
It's weird. It's weird how the Republicans spin it all the time. But
sure.
I would vote for a Republican. I would vote for a Republican if they put one on. If
Absolutely.
they put one on that would work before, I'd vote for one.
Absolutely. There's a lot of idiots on social media that say a lot of stupid things. Jack Posobiec and Brandon Tatum called me a liberal on the Pierce Morgan show a few weeks ago, and I set the record straight with them. By the way, there's nothing wrong with being a liberal, but I'm a registered independent. I have been my whole life. I didn't vote for Barack Obama. I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. I believe in border security. I believe in capital punishment. But these people, when they don't have an argument, that's what they go to. Oh, you're a liberal. Oh, you're a libtard. Because they don't have a real argument.
It's the always whataboutisms, too. Well, you know.
What about Hunter's laptop?
What about that? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The big talking point back then was, oh, the Keystone Pipeline, the Keystone Pipeline. The Keystone Pipeline had nothing to do with oil prices.
Listen, let me put this in perspective for you, okay? When it comes to the Donald Trump crypto scandal, which he and his family will be making billions of dollars, his two sons, as I like to call them, Uday and Kusei, also known as Eric and Don Jr., they'll be making boatloads of money. They already are. But it's interesting. MAGA Republicans want to talk about Hunter Biden selling some paintings, but yet they didn't have a problem with Jared Kushner receiving $2.1 billion from the Saudis. Oh, yeah, by the way, Mike Pompeo wasn't sent over to Saudi Arabia the last several months of Donald Trump's administration. Guess who was? Jared Kushner. And then several months later, he gets $2.1 billion. I almost said his girlfriend, but it's his daughter, Ivanka Trump. He wishes it was his girlfriend, who made over $600 million in Chinese trademarks. But they want to talk about a $10,000 painting that Hunter Biden sold. Oh, yeah, by the way, Hunter Biden was never in Joe Biden's administration. The idiocy from these people on the far right and these right-wing echo chamber radio shows, it's despicable and it's disgusting. Everything is right in front of their eyes, but they want to attack minorities. They want to attack migrants, whether they're legal or not. Make America white again. They attack They attack poor people. They attack the people that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. It's sickening, the hypocrisy from the far right. I don't want to hear any MAGA Republican ever bring up Hunter Biden's name if they didn't have a problem with Jared Kushner receiving $2.1 billion from the Saudis, or Donald Trump receiving a $400 million jet, which, by the way, he will never fly as president. He will take home as a gift, I guarantee you, when he leaves office. These people are some of the biggest hypocrites that America has to offer. And quite frankly, I'm sick of it. I am sick of these people.
Why are they wearing masks?
Paul,
Why do you think they have to wear masks when they go out and arrest illegal immigrants? Can you imagine having a job where you have to wear a mask? Could you imagine if Brian came on every day, or myself, and we had these passionate points and positions that we wanted to come, but we wore black masks so no one could ever see our face? That kind of implies that what you're doing is really not legit. It's more like the Gestapo.
Thank you for the call, sir. We appreciate you. And for anybody on social media that disagrees with me, usually they don't have the wherewithal to take their MAGA small hands and fingers to call into a radio show, but that's okay.
He said the tiny fingers were not a problem. He said he doesn't have a problem. Trump said
not a problem.
The tiny fingers were not an indication of anything that he could think of.
According to Stormy Daniels, that's not true. 702-221-7283. And again, the number to call if you have the guts to do it, if you're a MAGA supporter and you're not just a keyboard warrior. 702-221-7283. Let's go to CJ. CJ is next up on PTL. What's up, CJ?
Wow, that was quick for me to get through. Hold on, let me mute my speaker. All right. Okay, you said some time ago that, well, you just said that you're an independent, and that was a surprise to me.
Why is that a surprise?
Well, your positions pretty much are.
What are my positions? Let's go over them.
Just from what I've heard, anyway. I haven't listened to your show as much as I would like to. But anyway, let me just.
So let me ask you a question. Well, hold on. Let's have a
Okay.
conversation about this.
Okay.
Would you say liberals believe in capital punishment?
Some do, some don't.
No, that's not
No.
true. The overwhelming majority of liberals are not for capital punishment. So
That is true, overwhelmingly.
Yeah,
I'm saying
okay, so
some
that's-
do, many. Let's say some
Gotcha.
do, many don't.
Okay, what about capitalism? How do liberals feel about capitalism, or Democrats?
Most Democrats, anyway. I'm not going to go with the Democrats are in favor of capitalism.
No, they're not. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? With respect, sir, what are you talking about? Most Democrats are not in favor
They
of capitalism.
believe that capitalism is a necessary component
Right.
of a larger
Right.
picture, but they
Okay,
don't
yeah.
accept
Let
it
me put it
as
this
the
way. They know
prevailing
capitalism.
policy of the United States.
Yeah. I'm also all for border security, and I didn't vote for Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton. Would you say most Democrats or liberals didn't vote for Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton?
All right. Anyway, let me get to what I was trying to say.
Well, you started the conversation by saying you don't believe that I'm an independent.
He just all political parties.
So do you still stand by, since you claimed you knew my positions? I'm being respectful.
No, I'm just saying I did not say that I know your position. I just said from the positions that I had heard from you. In the few times that I've managed to catch your show.
So now you've heard some of my positions. Do
Right.
you still think I'm a lefty?
Not far left, definitely not.
Okay, fair enough. Go ahead, sir. I'm glad
All
we
right.
I'm glad we
I
cleared
accept
that up.
correction when I'm wrong about something.
Thank you. I
particularly
appreciate
when I'm
it.
wrong about a particular person.
Then you know
that I'm
what?
talking about.
Something Donald Trump will never do. So I respect you for that. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, I'm very much not a Trumper. Okay.
Okay.
I personally think there should be no political parties. They're not mentioned in the Constitution. George Washington said, "Let's not do political parties" in his farewell address. He said that'd be a really bad thing, and they shouldn't exist at all. There's yeah, but
Well, the
since we
countries
do
with
have them,
no party
unfortunately,
system are
there's New
generally
Merger's law that says
autocracies, are
that-
they not?
Huh?
Aren't the countries that do not have a two-party system, aren't they generally autocracies? Aren't they generally dictatorships if they do not have two competing parties?
Well, those are one-party states. I'm talking about one fewer than that.
Well, China has a party, but they don't really have a party.
Right.
You know, they have the Xi Jinping party, basically.
Right, but I'd say one fewer than that. No parties. So basically, meaning all candidates should run on their own
So
merit.
can I ask you, if
There's
you don't
no-
mind me asking, though, sir, what's your voting record? Like, did you vote for Hillary? Did you vote for Kamala? Can you share with us, kind of like what?
I did not vote for Hillary. I did vote for Kamala and Obama.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I in the past, I've been a registered libertarian for many years. I
So-
was registered.
All right, fair enough. I
party
think that's
for a long time.
certainly sounds like you're capable
Not
of.
independent, no party.
No, I understand, and I certainly respect that. Let me ask you another question. Since we had Joe Walsh on today, do you respect the fact that he's now switched and going to the Democrat Party?
I do respect him very much for that.
Yeah, I do as
and
well.
keep in mind, he's not the only one. There was the whole Lincoln Project, as former extreme Republicans, teabaggers,
Right.
Yeah,
Can I ask you, though?
The founder of PNAC.
What made you vote for Kamala? That you didn't vote for Hillary. What made you vote for Kamala? Was it like an anti-Donald Trump?
When I was trying to get to that. You familiar with Diverger's law?
Yes.
Okay. Basically, if you any vote, according to the way Diverger's law works, any vote cast for a person that is not one of the top two parties, it counts as if you effectively is almost as if you're helping the party that you most oppose of the top two. So for a left-wing, a progressive person, and I am progressive,
right,
to vote for a progressive third-party candidate, as I did in the 2016 election. I looked for a third-party candidate, a person who most matched my views, as somebody you probably never heard of, and a party you probably never heard of. It's not one of the big, even the also-rans like the Socialist Workers or anything like that. but I just wanted to give him some support.
I got you. I would
Yeah.
I would think, sir, that we probably have more things in common than you would believe, actually. And I appreciate you calling in. I just wanted to clear that up. I lean to the left on social issues. There's no question about that. I'm extremely anti-Donald Trump, but I am very capable of voting for a Republican, and I have. I voted for 8 Republicans in the midterms. Now, I'm happy to say all the Republicans that I did vote for were not MAGA Republicans, but you know, that's the go-to for a lot of people. And I'm not saying that caller was on the right, because it certainly didn't sound like he was. It sounded like he was a pretty middle-grounded individual. But that's just my personal opinion. I have to deal with that stuff all the time.
Now, can I mention something real quick? Because you mentioned Joe Manchin when you were speaking to Joe Walsh earlier this morning. And I saw Manchin yield quite a bit of power because they needed his vote all the time. So they always had to come to him. And if he's going down that road, I think it's going to be a short-lived political career, because you will gain power. He had a lot of control because they needed him to vote. But what he did was he just did what was best, in my opinion, what was best for him at the time politically, and it didn't work out.
And a lot of people do
it
that.
Backfired.
And a lot of people do that. 702-221-7283. MAGA callers, welcome. Let's go to Bill. Bill is next up on PTL. What's going on, Bill?
Well, first of all, I'm not a MAGA.
Okay.
I'm an independent. I'm a never-Trumper.
Gotcha.
And if you look at at the first time that Putin and Trump met in 2016, when they came out of that room with only the interpreters, Putin had a grin on his face from ear to ear. Trump just looked like he took it, you know where. And it's been that way ever since Trump's been involved in politics. He's always done everything he can for himself and his family.
Why,
He doesn't
Bill?
care
I agree.
anything about.
Bill, I agree with everything you just said. Why do you think there are millions of Americans still in this country that still support Donald Trump and think he's doing a good job?
I have no idea, Brian, because they would rather believe a lie that he says than look at the truth and ignore it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate here, but at the same time, we are what, 4 months in? About 4 months in. He has some of the lowest approval numbers in 70 years, at least for the first 100 days. Elon Musk didn't even last 4 months, okay? He's gone. They said they were going to save $2 trillion. Then they said they were going to save $1 trillion. Then it went down to $140 billion, and that's debatable. Most people are saying they didn't even save as much as $70 billion.
He was going to stop all the wars.
Yeah,
all the conflict.
Said he was going to end. He said he was going to He said he was going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. How's that working out? And now he's basically giving Putin the green light. Not that Putin needs the green light, but he goes on Truth Social today and he says to Putin he has to respond. He has the right to respond to Ukraine's attacks. I mean, listen, and you look at what's going on in the Middle East. There's no peace in the Middle East. It's just as bad now.
In fact, there's no trucks going to Gaza today. There are they were banned for 24 hours, so there's no food going to Gaza today.
Yeah. Yep.
Talk is cheap, and Trump is the cheapest guy around.
You're right
he
about
conned
that.
Elon Musk. Elon Musk realized, I think, that he got the con. He ruined his life. He ruined his companies.
He ruined his reputation.
He ruined
if
his
he had a good reputation, it's gone now.
People were burning his vehicles. They were marking them up with paint cans and things.
His sales on his cars are down 50% in Europe, the last numbers that I saw.
And he found out that Trump and his administration had no intention, zero intention of making cuts, of trying to cut the deficit and make things better.
There's one thing I wanted to bring up, and I didn't even know about this until I saw it on an interview yesterday. You remember back in 2008 when George W. was president, they were lending mortgages to people that didn't even have jobs.
Mm-hmm.
People were buying houses like crazy. They were getting in way above their head. The banks were selling the mortgages off to different companies all over the place. We almost went into the toilet.
Yeah.
They're doing the same thing now. They've got apps out there that kids, young couples, babies, if they can't afford to buy groceries, they can charge it.
Yeah.
And they can charge it and charge it and charge it. There's no limit. There's no regular. It's just we're heading down the same path, and it's more people that are going to be involved because not everybody wanted to buy a house, but everybody needs to buy groceries. And there's going to come a time when these kids are so far in debt, they're going to need a bailout.
Oh, you're right.
With this bill that they're trying to get through today, all they're worried about are the oligarchs, not us.
That's correct.
You're right. I appreciate the call, my friend. Thank you so much. I do want to respond Usually I don't to some clowns on social media, but I'll make an exception
Let's
for this
go.
one. By the way, this is somebody that doesn't have the wherewithal to call into a radio show, but is a keyboard warrior. But there's somebody on social media that said, first of all, the TDS is strong. My response to that would say the TFS is strong. I'm talking about you, Hex. That's also known as Trump fellatio syndrome. Imagine rooting for your own country to not succeed. I feel sorry for you. I'm wondering what was said in this conversation that would make you believe, because you're such a MAGA dope, that somehow the things I'm saying on this show would lead you to
The
believe
big, beautiful bill
that
is
I
not
don't want the
succeeding.
country to succeed. The first,
That's not succeeding.
The first thing that I would say, sir, is usually I don't like the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. That means I want the country to succeed. I want the top 1% to pay their fair share. I want people that are struggling to get a tax break. I want people that are struggling, that are on food stamps and Medicaid, to continue to receive benefits. I'm wondering how you take those positions and turn that into, I don't want America to
With
succeed.
knee pads?
Now, the only way that I could form an opinion on why you would make a statement like that is because you're not smart enough to understand the things that we talk about on this show. And you're so clouded in your Jesse Waters and your Alex Jones and your Fox Noise and OAN and Newsmax that you're not willing to think outside the box in your right-wing bubble.
How about if we promise to be nice?
Yeah.
How about if I promise? You don't have to make any promises.
Well, these types of people that make these statements on social media and they type one sentence, "You must hate America." I hear this all the time. As if criticizing Donald Trump means you hate America. I would go to the contrary. If you criticize Donald Trump for his criminal activity, being a 34-count felon, or his escapades with women, or his trade deals or lack of deals. We were told 90 deals in 90 days. How many deals have been made?
How about dismantling the DOJ?
Well,
How about dismantling the FBI?
Of course, that as well.
How about taking away the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board, and it doesn't even have an office right now, so no one who is treated wrongly in labor can even has a place to complain. How's that not dismantling America?
If you wear the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7, your only argument, instead of talking about facts or policy or character, you just go to, oh, well, you must hate America because you're criticizing Donald Trump. These are the same people for 4 years that I had to hear calling Joe Biden every name in the book. We didn't say you hated America. We said I said what I say now, what I said, but you're just a bunch of imbeciles who are MAGA deplorables. So, no, sir, you're the person that hates America, not me. And guess what? I hope they deport you to Gaza. 702-22. What do you think about that? 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Bruce. Bruce is next on PTL. What's up, Bruce?
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Hey, good.
Thank you for your guest. He's soft-spoken, but he speaks loudly.
He does.
Thank you. That's nice of you to say.
You speak loudly, and you speak loudly. Period.
Sometimes.
But what people need to understand that if the richest are just taxed 1% more, that'll pay for everything.
Yeah.
Well, much like after World War II is what I'm guessing that you're talking about, because after World War II, everything was stabilized, but they taxed the rich at 90%, which, maybe not be totally, it may not be totally fair, but that's not what we're asking. What we're asking is, can you just level the playing field?
Can somebody
you just pay your share fair? Your fair share.
Can somebody please explain this to me that is a MAGA Republican? Now, they struggle to explain anything. They can't explain 2 + 2. Or maybe you're Marjorie Taylor Greene and you vote for a bill that you didn't read and you admit it. But why is it okay in America for somebody making $40,000 a year or minimum wage to pay a higher percentage of taxes on a percentage than a billionaire? Why would that make sense? Why would that make sense to anybody to allow this to happen in this country?
All taxes have to be apportioned according to the Constitution.
But the MAGA Republicans will not do that. They don't want that.
Yeah, but it's in the Constitution. It has to be equal.
In the Constitution, I agree with you, sir. In the Constitution, it also says any person has the right to due process. But MAGA Republicans are trying to change the wording of our Constitution, making it that if you're undocumented, you don't get due process. They're literally trying to. That's why we call it an oligarchy. That's why we call it a dictatorship, because Donald Trump is defying our own Constitution and rulings by the Supreme Court. This is an oligarchy. That is exactly what it is, and Donald Trump is a mob boss.
Do you think
Donald
that
Trump is just?
Do you think that most of the big companies get corporate welfare?
Yeah, of course.
Right. So in the form of tax abatements, mostly tax breaks. But here's the problem that I have with the corporations not wanting to pay. They pay zero taxes. Some of the biggest corporations. But you know what they do? They use the same roads that we do. They use the same sidewalks. They use the same public lighting. They use the same resources, the police, fire, Teamsters. So they want to use all the resources, but they don't want to pay for any of it. And that right there is the hypocrisy.
Thank you for the call, sir. We appreciate you. Let's go to Kim. Kim is next on PTL. What's going on,
Sorry,
Kim?
I went on a rant.
That's all right.
Hello, Leonard and Brian. How are
Hi
you?
there.
Hey, Kim, what's on your mind today?
Well, Leonard, I wanted to say this. I heard you last week about why can't understand, and I can't either, about why police officers always go right wing. I have a friend, my husband and I grew up with him, went all through school with him, and he's the sheriff of our county, and he was a Democrat until he became a sheriff, and he went right wing. He was Democrat and went right wing. But, Brian, I know that Joe is your friend, and I've listened to him through the years, and now that he's turned Democrat, I'm kind of leery about that because one thing, he has no business with when it comes to women and women's rights and abortion. That's a woman's right, and I wouldn't trust him to make that decision to being a Republican, being a Democrat. I still think that he would have those Republican. You know what I'm saying? He
Yeah,
would
no,
still have those Republican.
I get what.
know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, my dear. I do. I know that there's going to be some hesitancy with Joe Walsh. All I can simply tell you is, I would rather disagree with someone on some policy issues and know that they're a decent human being that care about the American people and our democracy than agree with somebody 95% of the time,
That's
but
what
know that they're
matters.
not a good person. That's just my personal opinion. Let's go to Jack. Jack is next on PTL. What's up, Jack?
You know, what's going on, Brian?
Hey.
I got to call in when Leonard's on. Leonard, always on point, man. Like I remember the first time I called when you were on, and we got into it about the gentleman getting in the fight on the subway. And
Thanks, Jack.
since that point, I mean, just spot on every time. So I just wanted to say that.
I appreciate
Yeah. I just want to talk about the way we message, saying, okay, well, you know, Musk is right, Bannon's right. Brian, you're right. They're correct in agreeing with you. Like, this has been our, you know what I mean? Like we say, oh, this, you know, this one's right, that one's right. We're right. They're just agreeing with reality. We're agreeing with, like, normal processing. Like, the same thing with some of the Senate representatives that are holding out. You know, you got people like Marjorie Taylor Greene that admits she don't even read the bill. I mean, that's who you're up against.
By the way,
If
she
somebody-
has a number of assistants that are getting paid, and they could read the bill if she doesn't want to, which clearly she doesn't. But, you know, that's what you're getting paid for. You're getting paid a six-figure salary. All you need to do is read bills and decide whether you want to vote for it or not. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is telling the country, I didn't read the bill. If I read it, I wouldn't have voted for it. That's really what she's saying. I mean, an absolute and complete imbecile and an embarrassment to the country.
Hey, Jack, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
What do you
Sure,
think of the fact that the Intelligence Committee is saying that Trump refuses to read the intelligent briefings that come in every day, and that he would rather just watch TV and get his intelligence briefings that way? And now they're trying to make a change so that they could figure out a way for him to absorb. Now, remember, the intelligence briefing is not just America. That's all over the world. That's what's happening in Africa, South Africa. That's what's happening in France. That's what's happening in Poland. And what do you think of the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene and they're implying that Trump doesn't like to read? Do you think there's an issue there?
Absolutely. I mean, he's definitely more cognitively impaired than he was the first time he ran, and he didn't like to read then. I mean, they're up to making slideshows and pictures for him. He will not read anything. He didn't want press briefings. He didn't want, you know. And this is
Animal
the
balloons.
person. It's amazing. Like they have to make, literally, they have to make like poster boards with. He'd rather watch Fox and get the news. He's getting his news from Fox, like, because that's what he's used to.
Fox, Newsmax, and OAN, Jack, and he also watched a documentary, I believe, on PBS about Alcatraz, and that's what gave him that brilliant idea that he was going to reopen Alcatraz. How did that go, by the way? Funny, we haven't heard about that since. What an idiot.
Remember he talked about the Mexican kidnapping scenario, which actually was from Day of Sicario?
Yeah, it's insane. 702-221-7283. And he also retweets on Truth Social execution of Joe Biden allegedly in 2020.
Oh, my
just
God.
Insane.
Don't even start with
Let's
that
go to
one.
Debbie. Debbie's next on PTL. Hey, Debbie, what's going on?
Hey, guys. A couple of things. You know, we, the smart Americans, try to convince Trump supporters they're wrong, wake up, look at what's really going on. And when they do, we're happy about it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So why are we so cynical about Joe Walsh changing?
Well, to me, it's not. To me, it's not that Joe Walsh changed. It's to me,
Right.
for the last 6 or 7 years, he's been very anti-Donald Trump, and he's been on the right part of history. I think his policy opinions when it comes to abortion and gun control and the economy and taxes haven't changed. I don't think Joe Walsh has changed per se. I just think he cares more about our democracy than what party he's a part of, and I respect that a great deal. I don't know if that's cynical. I just think he's a fighter. I think he's a decent man. I might disagree with him, and you probably do as well, on a number of policy issues. But most importantly, he's on the right side of history.
I'm
and
not cynical.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Oh, no.
It's just that you have to try to understand if you're going to vote for someone or support them, where their heart's at, and that's through his policies. Where do you stand? Where does he stand on Citizens United? What about that? That's a really good question, but I don't know.
I agree. I agree with that, but there's a lot of your comment people who are saying they don't trust Joe Walsh, blah, blah, blah. It's like,
well, here's what I will tell you. I've known Joe Walsh for 7 or 8 years. I consider him a friend. They're entitled to their opinions. If they don't want to vote for Joe Walsh and you'd rather vote for Chuck Schumer, then go right ahead. If you don't want to vote for Joe Walsh and you think Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar are better people, then go right ahead. But I can tell you something. I am very disappointed in the Democrat Party. I am very disappointed in Hakeem Jeffries. I am very disappointed in Democrat leadership. There are some rising stars within the party. I will take Joe Walsh over half of the people that are in Washington, D.C. right now that have a D next to their name. Half. You know why? Because Joe Walsh is a fighter. And while we might not agree with him politically, Joe Walsh does not want to take your food stamps away. Joe Walsh does not want to take your Medicaid away. Joe Walsh would never vote for this big and beautiful bill. And Joe Walsh will stand up to Donald Trump. That's why I would vote for Joe Walsh.
Brian, can I ask you a question while she's on the phone? Is that okay? So do you think the current leadership of the Democratic Party will allow those rising stars to continue to rise? Do you believe that?
I would like to believe that, but...
Yeah.
If you look at Chuck Schumer, it doesn't look like he's making room for anybody.
Yeah, well, again, we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But I don't understand this mentality of I will always vote for a Democrat. I will never vote for a Republican. Let me be very clear. Everybody is entitled to their opinion. I can tell you right now, if Ilhan Omar was running against Joe Walsh, I vote for Joe Walsh. If Rashida Tlaib is running against Joe Walsh, I vote for Joe Walsh. If Hakeem Jeffries is voting against Joe Walsh, I vote for Joe Walsh. If Cory Booker is running against Joe Walsh, I vote for Joe Walsh. Cory Booker voted for Jared Kushner's father, a criminal, okay? There are Democrats out there that I would not vote for if Joe Walsh was running against them, even as a Democrat or a Republican. I don't care. It's not because I'm a Republican. Okay, I'm not. I never have been a Republican. In fact, I've never voted for a Republican as president of the United States. Never have. Only voted for Democrats that run for office.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
So Senator Booker spent over 25 hours talking. He set a record, and he was very passionate. And let me ask you, did it move the needle? All that he did, all that he spoke about, did it move the needle at all? Was there any leadership there?
No.
Did he give us any path forward?
No.
No.
702-221-7283. You're right. Let's go to Kathy. Kathy's next on PTL. Hey, Kathy, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, and hey, Leonard.
Hi, Kathy.
Leonard, I just wanted to respectfully disagree with you about Elon Musk. And the reason I said hear me out first, because I can't stand the guy anyway, but hear me out on this one. I believe that he feels that his agenda is accomplished. And I say that because there were two major investigations that were going on in several different agencies. One of them was discrimination against black people, black workers within his Tesla plants, where people were suggested to racial epithets and nooses on the plant floor. And also with the Tesla, there were product problems with his Tesla Cybertruck, in which three adults died in that truck because they could not get out of the truck when there was an accident. The truck caught on fire, and because the way the wiring is in the system, they could not open the doors. The windows were too thick to blow out. So those teenagers actually literally cooked in those cars.
So you think it was that simple? You think Elon Musk was just concerned about a discrimination lawsuit in a time when the Supreme Court is not going to affirm any decision that accuses him or confirms racism? And I think that's what a lot of this is about, that the racism is out of control, and there's a big reason why, in my opinion, people are willing to take it in the shorts and pay more money and keep voting for Trump, because as long as those other people don't get anything, and remember, those other people are not asking for a handout. They're saying, I just want a level playing field. Put me on a level playing field and I can compete with anyone, but they don't want to do that. And so, but I do think that Elon Musk did a lot of damage to the bill by calling it an abomination, a disgusting abomination. And so you have to believe that he's upset because he just basically torpedoed that bill.
Yeah, he did. And, we've heard rumblings of a physical altercation. I talked to Ron Filipkowski about this yesterday in the Oval Office. And then he has that eye bruise, and he says that he told his kid to punch him in the face. I don't believe that. I believe there's a lot of people that would want to do that to Elon Musk, but I don't believe his kid did that. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Jackie. Jackie next. What's going on, Jackie?
Hi. It's my first time calling in.
Thank you.
And I very much enjoy watching your show and
Thank you.
All the feedback you guys provide. This question is for Leonard, if that's okay?
Sure.
Okay. I just wondered, being the head of a fraternal order, and based on the fact that the fraternal order endorsed Trump, how you see the fraternal order, if you can speak to it, or, what is your perception of how they deal with the deputizing policies for immigration, and, anyone who maybe isn't a MAGA Republican inside the agency at a higher level.
That's a really good question, Jackie, and I will be honest, that's a difficult one for me to answer. I used to be the president of a fraternal order of police lodge, and I'm just a member now. So that may tell you something, and the problem is that they have really helped the police officers over the years. They have put out legislation that increases the penalties for people that just murder cops because they're a cop, because they wear a uniform. They have supported a lot of legislation as far as our police officer Bill of Rights. So on the one hand, they do great work, but they did endorse Trump, I believe, and they have a lot of very far-right policies. And so, much like Brian says from time to time, a lot of what we do is based on people's policies. In other words, the issue, not necessarily independent or Republican or Democrat, but on the issue. I'm a registered Democrat, but there's a lot of things I disagree with in the Democratic
And
Party.
by the way, there was somebody in the chat that, because I was referring to Cory Booker voting in Jared Kushner's father, and somebody said, well, I thought Brian wasn't a one-issue voter. First of all, when we talk about one-issue voters, and by the way, I can't even vote for Cory Booker, so that doesn't even make sense. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, if it was him versus Joe Walsh, I'd vote for Joe Walsh. When we talk about one issue, we're talking about policy issues. We're not talking about behavior. We're not talking about supporting somebody who is a known felon. Jared Kushner's father is a convicted felon who Donald Trump had to pardon. I don't care what type of person you are. When you vote for somebody like that, it speaks to your character. I was very disappointed in Cory Booker. I would still vote for Cory Booker over most MAGA Republicans out there, of course. All I'm simply saying is if Cory Booker was running against Joe Walsh, I would vote for Joe Walsh because I think he has more character and I respect him more. 702-221-7283, the number to call. And again, if you're a MAGA supporter, feel free to call in and I'll duke it out with you and let's have a conversation. But again, a lot of those people that
and
are
I'll
in the
be
chat,
nice.
a lot of those people in the chats are afraid to do so, which is okay. I understand if you're a Twitter warrior and a keyboard warrior. I understand that. Many MAGA Republicans today are afraid to have actual debates and conversations. I understand that.
A lot of people are saying.
A lot of people are saying
a lot
that.
of people are saying that they don't want to call in.
Many people are saying. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Dave.
You need a better Trump impression.
Dave is next on PTL. What's up, Dave?
Hey, Brian. How you doing today, buddy?
Hey, good.
I got a couple questions, a couple points. Even some input there from Leonard. I'm hoping you guys are ready. I'm going to pick your brain today. First thing, I was doing my research on Joe, which I agree with you. I think he would be an awesome person to run for president. If you have, let's say, top 5 Republicans like Joe Walsh that could come over to the Democrat side, who would they be?
Top 5 Democrats, are they in office or are they out of office?
No. Republicans that would come to Democrats. I'm like you. I'm independent. But, like, let's say,
Tom Tuberville.
The other.
Tom Tuberville.
Okay, so you're asking me what Republicans that I would want to move to the Democrat Party right now. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Like Joe. Like what Joe's
Browns.
doing.
I haven't put a lot of thought into that. But I would say you'd probably have to be a moderate Republican. I don't think you could call, Liz Cheney could never be a Democrat. She votes so far to the right. Joe Walsh is not that far to the right. Mitt Romney is a guy that comes to mind, but I don't think Mitt Romney would ever want to be a Democrat because he still stands for a lot of Republican values, as they would say. But certainly Mitt Romney is one person that comes to mind. Adam Kinzinger is another name that comes to mind. I think Adam Kinzinger.
Oh, I thought he meant active. He means like anybody?
Well, I mean, if they're active, then there's not many of them out there. I'll be honest with you. There's not many.
Adam Kinzinger for sure.
Yeah, Kinzinger, who's done this show before. I think Kinzinger would be a good Democrat. I think he'd be a good fighter. Not Tim Duncan. He's the basketball player. Duncan, the guy out of. Why am I forgetting his first name? Maybe somebody could help me with that. Duncan, who spoke at the Republican National Convention. Who got threats to his life because of speaking out against Donald Trump. I think Duncan would be a good one. That's somebody that certainly comes to mind. Anna Navarro. Now, Navarro is not a politician, but boy, she is feisty. I'd love to see Navarro turn to the Democrat Party because I think they would welcome her with open arms. There's not
Susan
many.
Collins?
Susan? No, I'm not a Susan Collins
She's too
fan.
mushy?
No, I think she says one thing and then does something else. I do not have a lot of respect for Susan Collins, so no, she would not be on my list. But there's a few out there. There certainly are.
You
a
don't
few.
think somebody like
and then I got
Tuberville
two
would
other
do it
points
just
for you.
for the power?
What's that? I didn't
I'm
hear.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. I got two other points or 2 other questions for you. Do you think if Trump keeps pushing the envelope with Elon's going to maybe start donating to the Democrat Party or do something like that?
The only way he would do that is if it benefits him. He
said he's done with politics. He's done with giving money. I don't believe that. But he did state that
he's a liar.
Done.
We can't believe anything that Elon Musk says, and I'll repeat myself again. He will only do that if he feels like it will benefit him or his investors or his companies.
Another government contract.
Yeah. So that's the best way I can answer that question. I appreciate the call, sir. Thank you very much. 702-221-7283. And again, that number if you want to be a part of the conversation, whether you're a MAGA supporter or not. Are you sad that Elon Musk and the bromance between Elon Musk and Donald Trump appears to be over? 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Steve. Steve is next up on PTL. What's up, Steve?
Hi, Brian. As far as Joe Walsh goes, you're not going to agree with somebody on everything.
Sure.
But he's a fighter, and he hates Trump, so that's okay with me.
That's a big part of it, isn't it, Steve? I mean, that's a big part of it. Be on the right side of history. Understand the threat that Donald Trump poses to this country. Joe Walsh has been on board with that for 6 or 7 years. I certainly respect the heck out of him for it. He's also a good family man. He's a loving husband and father, and I think he's a very intelligent guy. Yes, the thing, one of Joe Walsh's best characteristics is he's always willing to talk to people that disagree with him and have respectful conversations.
That's important.
You know, one of Joe Walsh's good friends is also a friend of mine. His name is Fred Gutenberg. Fred Gutenberg is an advocate for against violence when it comes to weapons. He lost his daughter in the Parkland shooting. Okay, and they're friends. They met because they duked it out and disagree on policy when it comes to legislation, when it comes to weapons, but they became friends. That's what I love about Joe Walsh. He's always willing to talk to people that disagree with him and maybe meet somewhere in the middle, and that's what I like about him, and I think we need more people like that in Washington. I really think we do.
Okay, another thing I have to say is all these people trying to figure Trump out and what he's going to do and all this other crap. He only ran to stay out of prison. He ran after he won. He's been getting revenge on everybody. He's destroying the country on purpose. He's a Russian asset.
Of course he is.
Well, he still has state charges, and there is some question as to whether or not he's going to be able to avoid that after he steps down from the presidency, if he ever steps down.
Yeah. By the way, the guy I was thinking of is Jeff Duncan. I almost said Tim Duncan, the basketball player out of the Spurs, former Spurs player. But yeah, Jeff Duncan, I think, is a good dude. You know,
I really do think
he seems to have a lot of common sense.
Yep, I like him.
I really do think that that's the only reason he ran the second time, to stay out of prison.
Oh, I think there's a lot of reasons. I think that's probably the main reason. I don't disagree with you on that, and let's hope he still gets the opportunity to do so. Again, the number to call, just to kind of reset things for everybody. I think we need to take a quick break, but just to reset things for everybody. Okay, we have some people on hold. We'll get to your calls on the other side. We started off talking to Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh, a lifelong Republican. He ran for president. He's now switched to the Democratic Party. He made that announcement yesterday. We just had him exclusively on PTL to start the show. We're also talking about the Elon Musk bromance with Donald Trump has apparently come to an end. We're talking about that and his criticisms of the big, beautiful bill. We're taking your phone calls, whether you're a MAGA supporter or not. The number to call is 702-221-7283. The only way to be interactive on this show is to call in, because this is a live radio show. 702-221-SAVE, 702-221-7283. We want to thank our sponsors over there at the Bloody Shirt Group, bloody-shirt.com. At bloody-shirt.com, they sell protest apparel, visual ammunition to ridicule Donald Trump and his supporters. We ask that you check it out. They offer compelling designs, 100% cotton T-shirts at $45 and $60 for hoodies, and the proceeds will help fund the resistance. All we ask is that you just check it out. Check out the website. Check out their designs. Tell us what you think. bloody-shirt.com. Check them out. We got Leonard Cardinale in studio. We'll be coming back with your phone calls, and again, that number 702-221-7283. Again, that number 702-221-SAVE. We'll be back with more of your calls after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NICOLEMITCHELL.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits. On a Wednesday, quick programming note for you. MAGA extraordinaire podcaster. He's pretty popular on social media. Carmine Sabia is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. So that should be an all-out, duke-it-out debate, and that will be very interesting. World-renowned economist Justin Wolfers will be joining us on the show Friday. He was on CNN yesterday and talked to us about this big, beautiful bill, what he thinks about that, but more importantly, the tariffs and the damage that it is doing to the country. Also on the YouTube Super Chat, if you'd like to join us, you could do that. Your questions and comments will be read on the air, and you could check out my website, which is pushingthelimits.live. We just passed 115,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, so we are very happy and excited about that, a show that is ever so growing, and we have all of you to thank for that. We've been talking about Joe Walsh switching from the Republican Party to the Democrat Party. He joined us in the first segment. He made national news about that yesterday. He joined us today. And, of course, this big, beautiful bill calling an abomination is one of the words that Elon Musk used to describe it, among others. And now Mike Johnson and everybody in the MAGA Republican Party were caught off guard. And it's so funny to see them squirming and curling into a pretzel trying to make excuses and say, well, Elon Musk is wrong, but, he's our friend and we respect him.
He didn't know what to say. He was definitely caught off guard.
I thought it was great. And the number to call, by the way, is 702-221-7283. Let's go to Curtis. Curtis is first up this segment on PTL. Hello, Curtis.
Hey, Brian, I got a question about the big, beautiful bill. I got a copy of it in my hand. It says that he can delay or cancel elections legally. He can ignore Supreme Court rulings for 1 year or more. Do people know that's in the big, beautiful bill?
I think they know, and I don't think they care, Curtis, quite frankly. I mean, look at the Supreme Court ruling immunity for Donald Trump, and look at the Supreme Court ruling 9-0 to bring this guy Garcia back or implement him getting back into the country. This is what Donald Trump is going to be doing for the next 3.5 years, and there's nothing that Republicans can do about it because he's hijacked the entire Republican Party. So to answer your question, no. I think they know what's in the bill. I think most of them didn't even read the bill because they understand if they don't vote for it, they're in a lot of trouble politically.
Yeah, they don't have the courage. The Republicans don't have the courage and the fortitude.
Well, I want to know, do the public know what's in the bill?
Say that again. What, sir?
Does the public know what's in that bill?
No,
not all of it.
Listen, if people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and MAGA Republicans don't even really know what's in the bill, I would imagine a lot of people that voted for Donald Trump don't know what's in the bill either. They certainly don't talk about it on Fox News or Newsmax or OAN. They don't talk about it on political talk radio because 99% of it is echo chamber right-wing radio. And I can tell you if Joe Biden tried to put forth a bill like this, Republicans would be complaining about it until the House comes down.
Can you imagine if Biden cut school lunches for children who grew up in a poor family? And that's really, in the SNAP program, if you know anything about it, that's usually the best meal they get. Out of the 7 days, they go to school for 5 days, and that's the best meal they get. And they're just going to cut that program. They're going to cut Medicaid. You have, if you're able to work, they're going to cut your Medicaid. That makes no sense.
It's
One more thing,
mesmerizing.
Brian.
Yeah, go ahead.
He can fire government workers for political disloyalty.
Yes.
You heard that?
Yep, absolutely. Listen, they're making some of these employees write letters of appreciation for Donald Trump. There are town halls across the country where there are government workers that are being told that they have to write letters in support of Donald Trump. What type of country are we living in? Can you imagine if somebody who was a Republican had to do that for Joe Biden? They would lose their you-know-what. What is going on? That's why we call it an oligarchy. That's why we call it a dictatorship. And that's why we call Donald Trump the felon mob boss, because that's what he is. 702-221-7283. Manar is next up on PTL. Hello, Manar.
Yes. Hey, what's up? Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Brian?
Yes, sir. What's going on? What's on your mind today?
My brother, I see you were talking to the guy earlier. You're so animated when it comes to Trump. Let's say I do agree with you. The bill is horrible. Let's play this game, me and you, all right? The bill is the worst bill that's ever been conceived in history. How is that an argument for why I shouldn't be voting for Trump again? Because I will still vote for Trump. You haven't convinced me. Can you try to convince me that Biden wasn't
Absolutely. Okay, nope.
Can you convince me?
Okay, let's start with Trump. Are you still on the line, sir? Or did you hang up the phone? So he wants to have a conversation as somebody who voted for Donald Trump.
Hang up?
And then he wants to have a conversation, and then he hangs up the phone after 10 seconds. That's somebody that is not smart enough to have a conversation with me. But I'll still answer your question, even though you hung up the phone like the coward that you are. You see, sir, call me crazy, but I choose not to vote for people that are liable abusers. I choose not to vote for people that are 34-count felons. I choose not to vote for people that wake up in the morning that put 8 layers of orange makeup on with their girdle and lie to the American people every day. I choose not to vote for people who call our brave men and women suckers and losers. I choose not to vote for people who do those things. Now, I believe he's back up on the phone. Did you hear what I just said, sir?
Sir, can you give me a small summary? I got disconnected. I apologize.
Okay, so let me answer your question again. That's okay. I choose, let's forget about the bill for a moment, which is a disaster. Do you have any kids, sir?
Yes. No, I don't have kids, but I plan on plenty.
Okay. Do you have any nieces or nephews?
Yes, beautiful.
Okay, you have a
Beautiful
niece.
little kid.
I'm happy to hear that. How old is your niece, sir?
I have a nephew. He's 3 years old, I believe.
Okay, let's just say for a moment you had a niece that was, say, 14 or 15 years old. Would you vote for a guy who bragged sexually about going into teenage locker rooms and looking at your niece naked? Would you vote for somebody like that?
So the problem is...
Answer the question, please.
Yeah, I will answer it because I have to qualify it though. I have to look at the guy against him.
No. Forget about somebody. No. So you're telling me if somebody went into a locker, let me finish.
Not sure.
Let me finish my question. I need you to listen. You're telling me that if you had a 15-year-old niece or daughter who was changing in a beauty pageant dressing room and a middle-aged man went in there knowingly that your niece or daughter was naked and then bragged about it sexually on a radio show, you would still vote for that person if you didn't like the other candidate? Is that what you're saying on this show, sir?
100%.
Okay, well then you have, sir, then you have no moral compass. Then you're a horrible human being. You're telling me on a radio show that you would vote for a guy to be the leader of the free world that goes into teenage locker rooms looking at women that are naked, women that are underage, and brags about it, and you're telling me you could 100% still vote for that person, then you are somebody that has no moral compass. And with all due respect, sir, I don't care what your opinion is. What do you think about that? You're a sick human being. That's what you are. You're sick. If you would knowingly vote for somebody like that, then you are sick. Are you a pedophile? Don't you Brian me. You are defending somebody going into a locker room without permission and looking at teenage girls naked. Don't you say Brian me.
Your son is a crackhead who abused sexual like he has.
Who? What are you talking about? Who?
I'm talking about the son of the president that you wanted to elect instead of Trump. You wanted me to until he was found out to be completely senile.
Are you talking about consent?
What are you? Okay, hold on a second. Stop.
The whole time
prod him down again. Prod this idiot down again. You're an idiot. Talking about whether you think somebody is senile or not is a different conversation from somebody going knowingly into teenage girls' locker rooms. Do you not understand the difference, or are you too stupid to understand the difference? Hey, why don't you be quiet and why don't you listen? Are you not smart enough to understand the difference between somebody who is senile? By the way, you have no idea whether Joe Biden is senile because I'm sure you have no medical credentials, but probably the same buffoon that you are that complains about drag queen reading, and you complain about drag queens, but yet you have no problem supporting a guy who knowingly went into teenage girls' locker rooms, and you just admitted, even if it was your own daughter, you would still vote for him over somebody like Joe Biden. That makes you a man with no moral compass. Why don't you just repeat after me? I'm a MAGA dummy, and I have no moral compass. Why don't you admit it? Don't Brian me. You're an embarrassment.
Do you know that my daughter right now has no say if I'm
You just said you didn't have a daughter. Now all of a sudden you have a daughter. Why don't you make up your mind? Do you have a daughter or do you not have a daughter, you liar?
I'll talk about my niece. Sorry, I'm a little bit stressed right now.
Oh, okay. Would you ever say that if she wasn't your daughter, you would date her? Have you ever said that about your daughter, sir?
What?
Have you?
No.
Pot him down again. You're going to answer my question, or the show,
she was hot.
or it's over. You're going to answer my question. Have you ever said if she wasn't my daughter, I would date her? Have you ever said that, sir, about your daughter? Answer.
No, I would never say that.
Thank you. But you would vote for a guy that did. Have you ever talked about your daughter's body, calling her voluptuous and sexy? Would you ever say that about your daughter and comment on her body?
Maybe to validate.
Yes or no? No, you wouldn't. Thank you very much. Well, I want another question for you, sir. What would you say to your daughter if your daughter went up to you and said, Why would you vote for a guy that brags about grabbing women's genitals? What would you say to her, sir?
I will answer all your questions because you're forcing me to. I will
No,
tell
I'm not.
them-
No, I'm not forcing you.
voluntary.
I'm not forcing you to do anything. You took your little orange fingers and you called into the show. I'm not forcing you to do it. You can either choose to answer my questions or not. You're the guy who started this conversation that said you would have absolutely no problem, 100% is the word you used, to vote for a guy who brags about going into teenage locker rooms without permission. Would you like me to ask that question again, sir? Or you have no problem, the leader of the free world, bragging about going into teenage locker rooms?
Yeah, my niece right now, if you want to talk the locker room debate, my niece right now, because of Title IX, has no ability to actually...
I'm not talking to you about transgenders in sports, you buffoon. That's more important to you than you voting for a guy who goes into teenage girls' locker rooms bragging about it sexually. Why don't you focus on the issue? I'm not getting into a stupid conversation with you about transgenders. I know that's probably number one on your priority list. You think that's more important than voting for someone who goes into teenage girls' locker rooms and brags about it sexually? You think that's more important?
If you have a strong son like Barron, it shows you have strong character. If you have a bad son like Hunter, it shows that you're despicable, you're disgusting.
Wait, what?
What? It shows a lot of character of your father.
Okay, I can't even understand what you're saying. Speak slowly. Did you say Hunter Biden? Is that what you just talked about?
Yeah, because you keep trying
What
to
did
talk
Hunter
about
Biden-
the
was
character
Hunter-
of this person. You're trying to attack the character of Trump, right?
No,
So
I'm not- no,
saying
no, 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 no,
My
no.
number one indicator of his character is his kids. If his kids are amazing, strong, successful, healthy...
No, there's no proof of that.
Pat him down. Kids are successful and strong? What the hell are you talking about? By the way, they had to... Do you even understand that his kids had to plead the fifth over 500 times? You have no idea what you're talking about. And you want to talk about Hunter Biden? By the way, did Hunter Biden work in Donald Trump's administration? Or Joe Biden, excuse me. Was Hunter... What did Hunter Biden do that you have such a horrible problem with? Tell me, what did Hunter Biden do?
Between Hunter Biden and Barron Trump.
Okay, sir. I think you're developing a Joe Biden stutter, so let's try to calm down here because I'm having trouble understanding you. What did Hunter Biden do that you have such a horrible issue with? Tell me. What did he do?
Don't worry, I'm not going senile.
Okay, answer the question.
Okay.
You're not funny. Answer the question.
So the reason Hunter the reason I keep...
This guy's got a Tucker Carlson.
Does he not have a moral compass when it comes to...
Get this clown off the show.
Joe
I've had
Biden's son? All of a sudden he has
this
a moral
guy,
compass?
The guy's not a serious person, obviously.
But isn't it part of the bigger problem, Brian?
Of course
The
it's
lack
part
of the moral compass, the lack of knowledge, the lack of factual data to base your decisions on?
First of all, that's not a serious person to have a conversation with. First, he has a daughter.
He was trolling you.
First, he has a daughter, then he doesn't. He's okay with Donald Trump going into teenage locker rooms, but he wants to talk about Hunter Biden. Not a serious person, not smart enough to keep on the air. 702-221-7283. Let's go to William. William is next up on PTL. What's up, William?
Brian, congratulations on 115.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that, William.
We're headed for $1 million.
And I think you need to get control of your callers. You were getting a little hot under the collar there.
Oh, no, that's the way I like it. That's the way I like it.
I know, Brian. Let's stop it there. And then I have one topic to discuss. A caller a couple calls back cherry-picked a couple things out of the big, beautiful bill, whatever that means. I do not know what it means. And I'm assuming 100% of your listeners basically are against the bill.
I don't think that's accurate. I don't know. We have all sorts of
90?
different people. I don't know.
Well, no, it's a lot of people are saying it's not a good bill. It's a lot of people.
They're critical.
Can you name me one entity that is non-biased that has taken a look at this bill and said it will not get us into more debt?
You know I can't.
Because
but
there
I
isn't
have
one.
One comment for you.
Yes.
Has everybody forgotten it was either Obamacare or Pelosi that said we'll pass the bill and then read it? Do you remember that?
What do you mean leave it?
Or we'll read it after we pass it?
I don't remember any of that.
I don't remember that.
I have a distinct memory.
Okay, so
where
let's.
they had
Okay,
a
but hold
big
on,
bill
William.
and they said,
Okay, so I don't know if that's true or not, and I don't know if she actually meant that or it was a term that she was using. Here's what we do know for sure: Marjorie Taylor Greene did not read the bill, or at least most of the bill. She admitted that she didn't read parts of the bill, that if she did read it, she wouldn't have voted for it. We have a Republican in office now who's despicable and an embarrassment, who's openly admitted that she didn't read the bill.
And the Congressional Budget Office, which the head was appointed by Donald Trump administration, even they said that They were conservative with their estimates, but even they said would raise a debt ceiling. So how can a conservative Republican, which they call themselves, how can they agree to raise the debt ceiling so that Donald Trump can go ahead and spend the money and give breaks to billionaires? It makes no sense.
But, William, even if that is true, why would you go back many years? Why not just talk about what's going on right now and the fact that you have Republicans in office that are admitting that they didn't read parts of the bill and they still voted for
the
it?
Democrats
That's what's relevant.
did the same type of thing.
Okay, but even
The
if that...
Democrats did the exact same thing.
Okay, well, even if that was true, that doesn't make what's happening now right. So why do we have to go back years past?
No, I didn't say it's right. I'm just saying that I distinctly remember, let's pass the bill and then read it. And to me, the overall problem, Brian, is we have politicians that aren't even doing their job. How can they not read a bill? Anybody that votes on it.
Yeah, I'm not following where.
Well, I mean, listen, this is, hey, William, okay, but William, here's the bottom line. Instead of getting into the weeds here, I think, well, now, you obviously you voted for Donald Trump. This is a bill that put forth by Donald Trump. He's the leader of this bill. He's the one who called it the big, beautiful bill. There is not one economist that is not into partisan politics that is saying that this is going to get us into debt. It gets us trillions of dollars more in debt over the course of the next several years. Why would you be okay with that when all we heard from Doge every single day, wasteful spending, wasteful spending. Look at what the Democrats are doing. The Republicans are the ones that get us into debt here. Donald Trump got us $8.2 trillion in debt his first go-around. Why would anybody who calls themselves fiscally responsible vote for Donald Trump a second time? It makes no sense to me.
But they didn't have the bill to look at before they voted for him. You agree with that?
Well, Donald Trump didn't put this. I understand what you're saying, but they still voted for the bill. Many Republicans, just about all of them, are probably going to support this bill. And the point that I'm trying to make is he got us $8.2 trillion in debt the first go-around. So why would you support somebody like that if you care about fiscal responsibility?
Are you a conservative, sir?
I'm not too bright, but I would consider I'm somewhat of a conservative out of control.
Out of control in which direction?
Financially. I'm joking, but I'm not. I'm being honest.
Oh.
So you agree with me, William,
I'm very conservative.
you agree with me, William, that this bill is a joke. It's an embarrassment.
It is.
So who do you blame for it?
The sheep that vote for it in the Republican Party.
But who's the person who put it together? Who's the leader of this bill?
He took credit. He literally took credit for it.
That's what I'm trying to get at, William. Who's the leader? Who's the guy behind this bill?
No. Right. If this bill is bad, then it's Donald Trump's responsibility, period.
Would you admit that if this bill does pass, that maybe your vote was wrong and maybe you shouldn't have voted for Trump?
No, I would say the Republicans are sheep and don't vote their own mind.
How can they vote their own mind when Donald Trump is the guy that says that basically if you don't vote for this bill, we're going to get you out of office?
Yeah, they're going to be primary.
That's the problem with politicians.
No, not every politician. Did Joe Biden ever do that? Did Barack Obama ever do that?
In Joe's long career, I'm assuming he did make one or two mistakes.
I didn't ask you if you made mistakes. Has Joe Biden ever said if you don't vote for this bill, we're going to get you out of office? We're going to raise money and we're going to get you out? Did Joe Biden ever do that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Correct. You're correct. Did Barack Obama ever do that?
I do not know.
They didn't. So that's when you say
he
all.
Was pretty forceful.
But when you say all politicians do it, respectfully, I disagree with you. Democrat presidents, to my knowledge, have never told their Democratic colleagues, if you don't vote for this bill, we're going to elect you out of office. We're going to raise money and get you out. Donald Trump does that all the time.
Right. I'm just talking about the concept. Democrats had to vote for Obamacare. Do you agree with that statement?
Democrats didn't have to vote for Obamacare. I would also say that comparing Obamacare to this big, beautiful bill is a 180. Obamacare has saved millions of lives. It's been a great success. It's not perfect. And then Donald Trump has been bitching about it for 9 years. Can you tell me where Donald Trump's replacement plan for Obamacare is? All he simply is doing is going to take Medicare away from millions of Americans if this bill passes. Millions of Americans are going to be without Medicare. Millions of Americans are going to get their food stamps cut out. That has to concern you, William?
Spending abuse is the biggest problem.
So if spending abuse is the biggest problem, then why would you vote for a guy that got us $8.2 trillion in debt? Why would you still support a guy who put this big, beautiful bill together that's going to get us trillions of dollars in debt? If that's number one on your agenda, and by the way, I'm with you, William, then why would you continue to support this guy who's proven to you over and over again, not only is he not fiscally responsible, but he's crazy?
It's interesting.
Right,
that
but you remember how you chose Gavin Newsom?
Gavin Newsom didn't run for president.
No. When I gave
Kamala
you the
Harris did.
hypothetical, right, Kamala Harris versus Newsom, you'd say Newsom for the national office.
Kamala Harris. You had a choice between Kamala Harris and Trump. You chose Trump. Kamala Harris would not have put this. Kamala Harris would not have gotten us $8.2 trillion in debt. Kamala Harris would not have put this big, beautiful bill together, getting us trillions of dollars in debt. It just wouldn't have happened, William. You have to admit that.
she wouldn't have fired people for being part of the DEI hire program.
Yeah, she wouldn't have pardoned a bunch of people who beat cops on January 6th.
Right. No. Remember how I said only he knows why he pardoned them, and the appearance of it is bad.
Yeah, I would agree with that. William, I do appreciate the call, my friend. Thank you very much. We'll have to leave it there. We have a lot of people on hold in a very short period of time. Let's go to Doc. Hey, Doc, what's going on?
It's always stacked.
Hey, Doc.
You talking to me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
All right. What's going on, fellas?
Not much. What's
Man,
on
you know the worst thing? You know the worst thing about being on hold behind a MAGA Republican?
What's that?
It's being on hold behind two MAGA Republicans.
Yeah, but that should make it easier.
I'm sitting here going, oh, God, I'm never going to get on. I'm going to have to call tomorrow. Jeez.
Well, you got on.
But I hope you guys are doing well.
Doing okay. What's on your mind today?
My question is that I heard something. I'm glad, Leonard, that you're on today because hopefully you can support this or tell me I'm wrong. But I heard it somewhere, and I can't recall where, so I decided to look it up. And I read that coming into the country illegally or overstaying a visa is a civil offense. And you go through the process, you're deported. Now, if you come back and you're taken in and they see that you've already been deported, then it becomes a criminal offense, but it doesn't become a shackle you, shave your head, and ship you to the gulag criminal offense.
You know why?
And nobody talks about that.
Well, you know what? I've been talking about this for a long time. A good majority of people that overstay their visas, more undocumented immigrants in this country that overstay their visas than those that cross the border. A lot of people that overstay their visas are usually not the people that Donald Trump talks about because he wants to talk about brown people that are seeking asylum. He wants to deport those people to El Salvador prisons because it's not Make America Great again, it's Make America White again.
Do you know how many people from France overstay their visas? How come from South Africa overstay their visas? How come all of those people are getting a pass? And they're doing something worse. These immigrants are actually waiting to go to court. They have court dates, and they're deporting them before they even get a due process. So it's worse than this gentleman is characterizing.
Absolutely. It's not Make America Great again. It's Make America White again. Up against the clock here. We'll try to get to as many calls as we can. Janine is next. Hi, Janine.
Rapid fire.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, good. What's on your mind?
Well, you know, it's really, I'm 73 years old. I've recently moved to Tennessee. I've been a Democrat my whole life. I have some issues with the Democratic Party. I think that they have, you know, some of the things that they've done have caused the Democratic Party to go down. But the people here in Tennessee are definitely, you know, they are so uneducated. I hate to say it, but it's true. They're uneducated. They vote for people because, you know, generations in their family have voted for them. And so now here we are. They've got Trump in office, and suddenly they're going to lose their Medicaid. They're going to lose their SNAP. It just is so ridiculous to me that people do not understand that they're shooting themselves in the foot.
Well, you know what? Those are your comments are well taken because I talk about it every day. People voting against their self-interest, my dear. I appreciate your call. Darlene, the MAGA Destroyer, is next. What's up, Darlene?
Let's go, Darlene.
Hey, sexy Brian, sexy Leonard, and sexy Numchuck. Now listen, guys. We got to talk about that caller that called just a while ago. Let me tell him what he is. You are a male chauvinist son of a bitch. And I'm going to tell you right now, dude, it's women like us that cannot stand so-called men like you. How dare you think that you're going to go into a teenager's pageant and you can see them necking and it's okay? Well, it's not okay. And I'm telling you right now, us women are sick of it.
But he wants to talk about Hunter Biden's laptop, Darlene.
I bet he doesn't have a woman. That's what I'm betting.
I appreciate you, Darlene.
I believe
your comments are well taken. I'm up against the clock, Darlene. I got to run, but
okay,
it's
bye, guys.
always good to hear from
Bye,
you. I got
Darlene.
about 30 seconds for
Thank
Diane.
you.
Hi, Diane. You're up next. Go right ahead, my dear.
Hi, Brian. I just want to say, first of all, I love your show, and I
Thank you.
appreciate everything you do to educate everyone. So I just had a quick comment. So I, like most Americans right now, are experiencing like breaks and hardships in our familial and romantic relationships. But the thing is just the social media is so polarized and so divided. There's people like you who try to get things out there, but when I talk to my family and my friends, a lot of times they have absolutely no idea about like the contents of the big.
Here's what I want you to do, because we're up against. Here's what I
deal.
want you to do, my dear, and I'm sorry to interject because the show's over here in like 30 seconds. I appreciate your call. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to have your friends to call into this show, your family members, and I'll try to educate them on what's in this bill, and we'll see if they think it's a good idea. So that's what I ask you to do. Have your family members who might be MAGA supporters call into this show, and we'll see what
Have
they
them call tomorrow.
Yeah, and we'll see what they have to say. Leonard, it is always a pleasure having you in studio. That time goes by extremely
Thank you,
fast.
Brian.
doesn't it?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, and you will be back next week. Actually, so next week I'm going to be on vacation for a few days, so we'll have to talk about that. We have a very special guest co-hosting with me, Paul, who is a normal, regular caller of this show, who has a very large following on TikTok. He's going to be guest hosting for me.
Nice.
Going to be in San Diego for a few days. Anyway, Leonard, it's always good to see you. And for all of you out there, thank you, everybody, for your support. PushingTheLimits.live is the best place where you can make donations and buy PTL gear and merchandise, and we really do appreciate all of you. We'll be back on it on all the platforms tomorrow. Big Duke It Out debate with Carmine Sabia tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Brian.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie